Welcome, everybody, to Bible Study with the Fam. We are back for another installment, rightly dividing God's word. We missing some people today, but it's all good. The fam's still here. So today the topic is timing. Do y'all know what instant gratification is? A lot of people have used that term to define the times that we're living in. Us having basically instant access to libraries and internet and people across the world gives us the sense that we should be able to get anything as soon as we want. But God's timing is a bit different than the way we perceive time. So we all agree that God is all knowing and all powerful, right? But what does that look like practically? Like, how can God be all knowing? Does that mean that he knows the future and the past, or is it just that he knows the past and what's going on right now?
I think he knows everything.
Right. All knowing means that all knowing, past, present,
and so
future. You can't say all knowing if you're gonna define it in our terms by giving it a time.
So how would that look practically for him, though? Because we are temporal, so we
worldly or practically, it's like he's a satellite.
And then also, it's like he wrote Revelation, so he knew what was going to happen.
So that means what I'm hearing is God is outside of time, looking at it. Is that what y'all saying?
Yeah,
something like that. Because there, for him, there is no like time the way we see it.
Everything is happening at once, and he can see it all at the same time. Yeah.
What you mean? The past is happening for him. Everything is happening at one time.
For him, everything is happening at the same time.
No, I don't see that one.
Well, why not? If he's outside of time and he can see the future and the past at the same time, that would mean that for him, it's happening at the same or in the same moment. If time, he's outside of time.
I can see that because when I have watched this video. So like Moses, he had went up on the mountain. Jesus, he was on the mountain, and it was another person that was on the mountain. Elijah. And then they said that Jesus had saw two other people, Moses and Elijah, and God was talking to all three of them. But that means the time was happening all at the same time for him to be able to talk to them in three, at the same time, but they was in different parts of time.
In different real times at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. Had y'all heard about that idea coming from the Bible before? Interesting. Okay, so we gonna start with one of God's first promises. So let's turn to Genesis chapter 12. So when you think of a promise, you expect to see that, right? Because somebody's promising something to you. So if it's not like, after I die, do this, then you would expect to see that promise, right? Jasmine, can you read Genesis chapter 12, verse 4 for me, please? I know, right?
So Abraham departed as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abraham was 75 years old when he departed. out of Haran.
Haran. So, just for perspective, Abraham was 75 years old. Now, in the beginning, you said it. You see, it says that Abraham left like God told him to do, and he's 75 years old. So this is happening when he's 75 years old. So I'm gonna go to Genesis chapter 15 and read verses 1 through 5, and this is where he lays out what his promise is. After these events, I got you.
That's what I said. Y'all gonna be reading a lot. Where?
No, you next.
That's my friend. I can't even see, bro.
You can't see.
I told you I was up here trying to take a nap. I can't see. You said you reading who?
Genesis chapter 15, verses 1 through 5. After these events, the word of Yahweh came upon Abram in a vision, saying, "Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield. Your reward is exceedingly great." And Abram said, "Adonai, Yahweh, what would you give me, seeing I go childless, and the heir of my house is Eleazar of Damascus?" And Abram said, "See, you have given me no seed, and see, one born in my house is my heir." And see, the word of Yahweh came to him, saying, "This one is not your heir, but he who comes from your own body is your heir." And he brought him outside and said, "Look now toward the stars, and count the stars if you are able to count them." And he said to him, "So are your seed." So let's think about this for a second. Abraham is 75 years old, and God tells him that his seed is going to be like the stars. But he don't have no kids.
Yeah.
How many 75-year-old men we know out here having babies?
A few.
A few.
Okay.
Yeah, few. So the age in itself is already kind of like, you know.
But we put that boundary on there.
Not just us.
Age.
Not just us. There are people in the Bible that also were like, I'm too old, or I have this ailment, making scientific arguments as to why they wouldn't be able to have children. But God works outside of that.
Yeah, they don't look like raisins.
They or the babies?
The babies
would look like raisins. I'm glad I don't eat raisins. Sorry for the people that do. So now we're gonna skip ahead, Adam Sandler click, to when God fulfilled this promise. So let's turn to Genesis chapter 16. Mama, read verse 16 for me.
Didn't I tell you, boy?
You got one verse to read. One verse. You got this.
Absolutely nothing.
And you got your own little flashlight over there.
That don't mean a thing. Oh, where am I?
Verse 16, chapter 16, verse 16.
Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore him Ishmael.
86 years old when he had his first son.
And that's 10, 11 years later.
Exactly. 11 years later. And the funny thing about this was it's not even in God's promise. I mean, God still, manifested things through Ishmael, and he's supposed to be the father of all the Arabs. So it's a lot of those over there. We know that Muslim, the community is growing, but Ishmael wasn't the son that was supposed to carry that promise of his seed being as numerous as the stars. So this is like a drop in the bucket. So we're going to continue. Fast forward to Genesis chapter 21. China, could you read verse 5 for me, please?
Now Abraham was. Oh my God.
One second. All right, go ahead. Verse 5.
Now Abraham, what?
I was telling my mama verse 5.
when his son Isaac was born.
25 years later.
Yeah, that's wild.
25 years later. My man's got 2 kids. Finally, the one that the promise is supposed to come through. At 100 years old. Now, I know I asked this question already, but how many 100-year-old men do you know that's out here having babies?
None
living. None. Absolutely. That's up there. I mean, also, you know, it's our mindset, our modern mindset, but 100 years old is up there. His head was so ugly. But again, this is only 2 kids though. God said your seed is gonna be as numerous as the stars. So bloop, another drop in the bucket. I mean, at least you know it's a golden drop, but it's still just a drop in the bucket.
Your seed doesn't necessarily mean your direct seed.
But we started off with the instant gratification type of mindset. God said for Abraham to leave his country, and I'm gonna show you a land. Yeah, it took him a while to get there, but I immediately leave my country. So, you know, there's some.
But I'm consistently walking in God's promise to me. It's not the big one because I gotta get there. But everything that he promised has been coming in his time. So if it's like I'm counting the stars and these are my seeds, my direct seed has seeds, which are mine also because they're a descendant of me. So yeah.
But I mean, we also see that he had a baby beforehand out of impatience.
Well, that wasn't his, but that was his wife's impatience.
Yeah.
See, the women do it to you every time.
Let me not even. So now we're gonna go to chapter 25.
Next time, tell me ahead of time so I can bookmark my page.
Okay, I just sent you the notes, and you can. You're gonna have a whole lot of marks in there. Just want you to know that.
Post-it notes. Post-it tags.
Jazz, read verses 1 and 2 for me, please. Yes.
Then again, Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah, and she bare him Zimran and Joshan and Medan. And yeah, I'm not even.
Just keep going, bro. Read them.
I'm trying.
Just read it how it sound, how it look.
I hate how they got this spaced in here.
Which one do you want?
Midian. Median. And Ishbak and Shuha.
That's 6 more kids.
I forgot about this part.
6 more kids. She forgot about that part.
Say it. How it's pronounced?
Well, mine is spelled differently. It's Yokshan.
J-O-K?
Q. Okay. It's a cough, but it's
mine
a Q.
Is J-O-K. I gotta tell Shannon. Because she works with a gentleman named Joe Shine. And I was like, what kind of name is that?
Joe Shine.
And I was like, please don't say that when you're on the phone with me. Just say Sean or either Joe.
So now Abraham got more kids. It's starting to feel a little bit better for him.
About to die.
But you know, timing is not about feeling. Yes, he is about to die. He's definitely on his deathbed. Get there on the next page.
Right about now, what he 150?
And these are all the years 175 when he finally died, which was a little bit after that. So I don't know exactly what age he was at when he had the kids. But he was up there though. He died at 175.
In a good old age.
Right. So then what'd you say?
We need prayer.
Okay. So we see that whatever instant gratification we feel like we should live in, whether it's modern day instant gratification or traditional instant gratification, where 11 years passed and he finally was like, bro, this is a lot of time. We need to just be patient and wait on God's timing, because in Exodus chapter 1, it finally gets to where it's recorded. When I get my pages together. That the children of Israel bore fruit. This is verse 7. And increased very much. They multiplied and became very strong, and the land was filled with them. So this is 3 generations down the line, 2 generations down the line. 8.
We end at 8.
What are you talking about?
Children.
6, 7, 8. Yes.
Okay.
And now 2 generations down the line, we finally get some resemblance of as numerous as the stars, his seed being, which is a testament to what we were talking about in the beginning. God doesn't see time the temporal way that we see it. He sees everything going on at one time. So when I tell you your seed is going to be this numerous, I also see that later on. You just might not be able to.
Mm-hmm.
So this goes on with Jacob, which is Abraham's grandson. So we're going to turn to Genesis chapter 29.
Genesis 29.
Mm-hmm. Which is why I was the only one that was supposed to turn to Exodus. And Mama, can you read verses 16 through 20 for me? What are you doing?
Looking at you.
Your mom is crazy. She says she ain't reading my.
I already told him. I'm gonna repeat myself again.
Bible study with the fam.
I'm here.
Hola.
Your mom is funny, bro.
I agree.
Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah had weak eyes, but Rachel had a lovely figure and was beautiful.
Ooh.
Jacob was in love with Rachel and said, I'll work for you 7 years in return for your younger daughter, Rachel. Laban said, it's better that I give her to you than to some other man. Stay here with me. So Jacob served 7 years to get Rachel, but they seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for her.
Ain't that so wonderful?
Yeah, for him to be deceived.
Why you? Exactly, that's what happened. Spoily the spoiler. It's fine. That's what we're here for. So you would expect, like, okay, I say, let me work for you for this. And you say, yeah, it would be better for you to have this than me to give it to somebody else. So cool, do that. And then I'll work for you. And I don't get what you told me you was going to give me.
Yeah. That's not good.
So I think in this instance, Jacob resembles the heart posture and the mindset that we should have when we face situations like these, when we face deceivers, people that say they're going to do stuff for us and it don't necessarily happen.
Look at me again.
It says in verse 21, then Jacob said to Laban, give me my wife, for my days are completed, and let me go into her. And Laban gathered all the men of the place and made a feast. And it came to be in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter, and brought her to Jacob, and he went into her. And Laban gave his female servant Zilpah to his daughter Leah as a female servant. And in the morning it came to be that, see, it was Leah. So he said to Laban, what is this you have done to me? Was it not for Rachel that I served you? Why then have you deceived me?
I didn't promise you a wife.
He promised her Rachel. He lied.
Why did he deceive Jacob?
Because he wants both his daughters married.
Is that why?
Because he wrote down.
Because normally the oldest goes first.
So she was ugly.
Why he lied, Jasmine?
Because he wanted her for himself.
If I'm going to be honest, because I continued reading after you got done. So I agree with what Mom just said because it says it after what you just read.
I'm just loving the spoilers. Like, this is wonderful. I'm here for it. That's cool. That's cool. I love it. Keep reading. So finally, because Jasmine kept reading, I know she see.
We didn't teach.
I know she see that Laban finally, after Jacob completed Leah's week, gave him Rachel as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, he had to work 7 more years.
He did work the 7 more years afterwards to pay for her, but he got her after the first week was completed of Leah's marriage. If you keep reading it said. I mean, I just go ahead and keep reading it for you. And Laban said, it is not done this way in our place to give the younger before the firstborn. Complete the week of this one, then we give you this one too. For the service which you shall serve with me, still another 7 years.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So he got both of them. 7 years in a week is not necessarily what he wanted, and still had to work another 7 years after that. And then it gets even crazier because he has to work, I think it's another like 10 or so years after that, having all his 12 children out there. It gets pretty crazy.
Yeah, Laban's just laid low down.
Yeah, the deception is wild. But all in this time,
it's really crazy what happens after.
Yeah, I know. And that's why, we stop at the peak. So it's like, oh, I want to go read this later on. But Jacob is really dedicated when it comes to serving God and doing his work, especially after the situation that him and his mama put themselves in, having to move away from the family. But that's, another thing. So in situations when we face deceivers, we have to have faith that God is going to provide for us. So let's hit the famous story. Joseph, king of Egypt. Let's go to Genesis chapter 37. Mom, I know you know about Joseph. Jazz, you know about Joseph?
Not really.
So Joseph is one of Jacob's sons. This is after Jacob moved back to his family land. Nah. Joseph is the youngest, and I think the only one that was born by his favorite wife. Something like that. I'm gonna have to go back and
because when I was reading, I saw that she had,
wasn't it him and then Benjamin?
I guess.
But yeah, Benjamin was afterwards though.
He hated her and everything, and
yeah. I mean, I
ended up conceiving and bearing a kid.
Yeah,
but
that's what you
Rachel,
was just saying.
Yeah, that's what I said. What happens after it gets wild?
Legit arguing. I'm married. Give me a baby. Whoa. Slow down. I still got work to do outside. Yeah, it gets wild. Where was we at? Joseph. So Jazz, read chapter 37, verse 2 for me.
These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah.
You can just say it however they names.
And with the sons of Zilpath, his father's wives. And Joseph brought onto his father their evil report.
So one, Joseph 17 years old. 2, Joseph out here snitching.
I was about to say evil report. You carrying around paperwork or something?
That was some heavy paperwork.
Okay.
I'm sure in those times when it says evil report, it just means like I said it. Yeah.
The way they got it written in here, it's like he carrying around some paperwork. Well, some stonework. Yeah, that's what it was. Heavy.
I'm telling Pops.
Oh, you did this? All right, hold on. Let me write this down real quick.
So,
it was carved in chicken bone.
You're hilarious. Why you ain't say it loud? So the crowd can hear.
No, I always got a joke. Somebody might be offended.
That's what we here for.
That's what we do.
So we come on the scene. Joseph is the youngest of his brothers, 17 years old. And he's snitching.
But you want to know what's crazy? It's always the youngest that's the snitch out of the whole.
I'm glad you said that because I was about to paint that picture. Bro, the youngest, and you snitching. You know the ones at the top is looking at him crazy. Like, bro, what you on? We supposed to be sticking together, and you running back to Pops. Yeah, most definitely.
I didn't do that.
Okay.
You also the youngest, so you kind of had a hand in it, but it's also just the complex of being the youngest sibling. So you saying like you wasn't a snitch? Is that what you're saying? Or you didn't teach your...
Okay, I would say you wasn't snitching, but you throwing a whole truck at somebody.
I was just a brat.
Didn't you put a hand mixer in somebody's mouth?
That's not a snitch. I was just a brat because I wanted.
No, you was out for blood. You crazy person.
And it was.
I'm not sure. Blender. How did the conversation?
Still.
Get back to the Bible.
How did the conversation go? Oh.
When they be talking about you, you want to get back to the
conversation. Go. My brother was asleep. I woke up
afterwards.
And I wanted somebody to play with. And I tried to wake him up and he wasn't waking up.
So you threw a truck at him.
No, this is the blender story. Yeah. So they had put the blender up away from me in the kitchen. So I pulled out the drawers to use those as stairs because I was little and short. I climbed up the drawers and reached my blender. And because my brother snored and his mouth was open, I stuck the blender in and turned it on.
Mom,
get out of here.
It was a toy. He's not gonna do
crazy.
It wasn't gonna do a lot of damage. I just wanted him to wake up.
So that's the route you go.
Yeah. It was a toy.
Still,
it wasn't metal. It was just plastic.
Okay, so we're gonna get back now.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. As soon as we start speaking about youngest, guess who appeared?
Thank you, madam.
Ain't that something?
Does this need to be cleaned too?
Yeah, it do. But it's not sorted. Can you dump those on my bed? Because that's where the dirty clothes are. That don't need to stay in there. Just dump them down right there.
On the lower half?
Yeah, the lower part.
Bear with me. Nuclear bomb.
Wait, did you say like what was the noise? Or what was who's
Don't
Oh, that was
worry
my
about it.
brother.
Come on. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Big interruption.
I didn't know nothing about it.
I told you.
Okay.
You're hilarious.
Back to it. So, funny thing about this, God promises the youngest, the snitch, that he is going to be a ruler in a very interesting way, I might add. So it says in chapter 37, verse 5, and Joseph dreamed a dream and told it to his brothers, so they hated him even more. And he said to him, please listen to this dream which I have dreamed. See, we were binding sheaves in the midst of a field, and see, my sheaf rose up and also stood up. And see, your sheaves stood all around and bowed down to my sheaf. And his brothers said to them, shall you indeed reign over us? Shall you indeed rule over us? So they hated him even more for his dreams and for his words. So you the youngest, you snitching, and you telling me that you having dreams that you gonna rule over us. The animosity is understood. I can say that, but it should have been reined in for sure, because what they did to Joseph was really brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
I mean, it's since the beginning of time.
Instead of looking at your promise or your path is not my path.
I like how you on the other side of that because you are the youngest, because we was talking about something different. So I'm gonna keep reading because some people don't want to read, but she's gonna read again though. Rest assured.
I talked to my daddy already, and my mama is no longer here.
It's granddad.
It says in verse 23 of chapter 23 of chapter 37. So it came to be when Joseph had come to his brothers that they stripped Joseph of his robe, the long robe which was on him. And they took him and threw him into a pit, and the pit was empty. There was no water in it. And jumping down to verse 27, just to skip the little bit of commentary when they were sitting down chilling. Come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites. The Ishmaelites, don't that sound familiar? Ishmael is the son that Abraham had, yeah. So
wasn't it the second one?
Ishmael is the first son.
First one, okay.
So you got Isaac, and then you got Jacob and Esau, and then you got Jacob has Joseph. So in what is that, 2-3 generations, you got so many people already that they have gained the title Ishmaelites. That's interesting, right? It don't take long for a whole tribe of people to grow.
Yeah.
So
what number constitutes a tribe?
40. I mean, they had trade routes though. People was moving. And sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped down. 27. And come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him. For he is our brother, our flesh. And his brothers listen. And men, Midianite traders, passed by. So they pulled Joseph up and lifted him out of the pit and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they took Joseph to Mitzrayim, which is Egypt.
That's crazy.
Would you say Malia if you could? You thinking too long. That's crazy.
I was gonna say probably back when I was younger, yeah, but I would say now, no.
You know, funny little sidebar. Every time we would go to the grocery store and we'd get up to the register, my mom would be like, "Yeah, I'm selling one kid and you get the other two for free." That's hilarious, ain't it? She back there dying. That's crazy.
And I still say y'all should be like they do cars. After so many years, if it ain't working out, let me trade you in and get a different one.
First off, you know if you traded this in, you gonna get upset.
I just want to get back into the Bible now.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't have a problem admitting it.
Joseph had his dream that he's gonna rule, that his brothers and his parents are gonna bow down to him. And yet he gets sold by his brothers to Ishmaelites and taken to Egypt. Now, do we know what happens in Egypt, right? What happens in Egypt?
They
were enslaved.
If you was to, I was about to say, if you get sold to an Egyptian, most likely gonna be enslaved.
I was about to say the men. Well, I said the men and women get enslaved, but I feel like the women be getting enslaved for
different purposes, but enslaving is enslaving.
Yeah, definitely slavery.
And he told Pharaoh, "Let my people go."
That's Moses and Aaron. That's like
we
gonna get to that too. That's kind of next.
Remember a famous story? Let my people go.
So we know where Joseph is headed. But he ends up doing some slave work in prison, working for the Pharaoh, getting promoted, and the Pharaoh's wife trying to sleep with him and him running away and her snitching, saying that it was really him trying, and him ending up back in jail and eventually getting out. It's a long story, you know. Put you on the peak so you can go read it yourself. But we're going to skip ahead to where God actually fulfills this promise to where he's a ruler and his family has to bow down to him. So let's go to Genesis chapter 41.
Jasmine, read.
How you know?
Because I'm busy.
Read verse 46 for me.
And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt.
30 years old. Wait, what did it say? Yeah, 30 years old when he finally, all the other stuff didn't happen. Not sure how long he was trusted by the other Pharaoh and was doing his little work in there, but at the time he was still a slave. He was working for the Pharaoh, but it was a little bit nicer than outdoor slave. But
at least 12 years.
At least, you think that?
At least 12.
What math are you doing? What math are you doing?
What?
I'd like to know.
Because he was 17.
Uh-huh.
And he went and made the bad report.
Mm-hmm.
So I just added a year, perhaps, when everything took place and they sold him.
Mm-hmm. And you saying for all them 12 years?
He was in Egypt.
Oh yeah, but we talking about the time where he was trusted by Pharaoh.
Yeah, no.
After he got out,
for him being in Egypt
prison,
at least 12 years.
Before he went back into prison. Okay, yeah, for sure. 12 years of time have passed by between him having this dream that he's gonna rule and actually being placed in a position of power. But it's about 10 more years before his brothers actually come and visit him, because there's 7 years of plenty in the land where a lot is growing and they're able to and store a lot of stuff. But then after those 7 years, there are supposed to be 7 years of famine, which that prophecy is the reason why Joseph was able to get the position that he got, because he was an interpreter of dreams. So during the 7 years of famine is when his brothers come from their land to Egypt, because they hear Egypt has crop stored. So let's skip to chapter 47. China, can you read verse 5 through 7 for me, please?
Then Pharaoh spoke to Joseph, saying, your father and your brothers have come to you. The land of Egypt is before you. Have your father and your brothers dwell in the best of the land. Let them dwell in the land of Goshen. And if you know any incompetent men among them, then make them chief herdsmen over my livestock. Then Joseph brought in his father Jacob and set him before Pharaoh, and Jacob blessed Pharaoh.
Turn up. So it doesn't give his age or necessarily how much time went by in that little bit, but we do know that there's 14 years that have to be passed by based on these 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. And if they come somewhere in between the 7 years of famine to get food, then we can assume somewhere 10, 11, 12 years. So in all that time, Joseph he exhibited the same heart posture and mindset that his father did, being dedicated and serving the Lord. And no matter what he faced, he was sold into slavery by his brothers. And that's kind of like, I feel like in modern days times, especially the way people be church hurt, people would use that situation as a catalyst to no longer want to be associated with anything God, church, Jesus. So for him to be still God oriented is a big example for us. So now we gonna let my people go to Moses and have you read some, Mama.
My mama said,
We're gonna jump down to well, how you taking breaks? You're supposed to be done with that. So we're gonna turn to Exodus chapter 7. Now we're already introduced to Moses at this point in time. Moses has a crazy story. He was born in a time where babies was being killed because they wasn't supposed to be born. He said it was too many of Abraham's seed and they was going to be too powerful in the land. So let's kill all their babies. Sorry, YouTube. So this lady had a baby and she hid the baby in the basket after no longer being able to keep the baby in the house, sent the baby up the river. And so the Pharaoh's daughter found the baby and raised the baby.
Which I think is so wild.
Why do you think that's wild?
Because it's like, I be thinking like, I'm Pharaoh, and I've been telling everybody to kill their babies. And then a baby appears at my house.
I know, right?
Where did this baby come from?
That baby had to be under God's protection. Because, like, I see the baby. Why the baby not dead? Come kill this baby.
That's what I'm saying.
I get that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, protection. God said he ain't even gonna be thinking about that. His daughter happy. Oh, she found a little baby. Okay, well, everybody's happy.
Are you thinking about something? What does Moses look like? Does he look Egyptian? What are these thoughts that are going through your head?
He looks like a black person. They look black.
I was asking my mama because she made the thinker pose like she had something to say. So I'm just trying to see.
I don't keep dates.
I don't think would you been able to tell the difference. I think you just only know like based off of their family.
3 years after your auntie is when your grandmother is. It didn't even feel that close.
I don't even know I don't have the capacity to process that right now because I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about this.
I said.
I just can't even.
Yeah.
That don't make sense to me right now.
Yeah, I know, right? That's why I just. Yeah. Huh?
So China, read chapter 7, verse 7 for me, please.
And Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron was 83 years old when they spoke to Pharaoh. These folks is old.
You know, God. Everybody say God got a sense of humor. I think God funny.
I was about to say,
it's something about God and old people.
I'm over here reading Shakespeare, 4 years old. Like I'm.
That was the language of the time.
I cannot.
Do you know what a score is?
40
years?
No, it's 20 years.
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm. A score is 20.
So 4 score.
20 times 4.
80.
Don't look at me. Do not look at me.
So, I know, y'all not going to have an answer to this, but what's up with God and old people?
Maybe he just got to wait for
them
to
do
what he say.
No, because if you
said God be
that,
up there like, oh, you little cutie.
If you realize that in a lot of different cultures, the old people are viewed as wise because you're looked at as your time on earth. You've seen and experienced a lot, so your wisdom is greater than someone who hasn't spent all of that time.
I think what you said is really important because there is a lot of validity to that in many cultures traditionally. But I think in this story, it tells a bit of a different, or it comes from a different perspective. Because when Moses goes back to tell the Israelites, like, hey, God spoke to me. It's time for us to get up out of here. They like, bro, who is you? What God? Who is you talking about?
But I got something for y'all, too. The old people that God chose for something great, they were old with white hair. What you look at my hair for? I saw your eyes.
You was pointing at your head.
I've been rubbing right here.
Mama, your hair white. Why you even?
Mama, Mr. Hill hair all white now too.
I know. I don't have kids. Really? That's why I tried to get y'all away at the grocery store.
That's crazy.
You know your life would be boring without us.
Right?
Would it?
Yes.
Yeah. Very much so. Working at the car wash. Oh. You got to be careful. Don't know who trying to get us.
Hard not life. Exactly. Treated, we get treated. That's
so
what Whatchamacallit was saying.
Who is Whatchamacallit?
He couldn't get rich.
So we see Moses is 80 years old when finally he steps in front of Pharaoh.
Where we at?
So we are in Exodus chapter 7.
Verse 7 for you. I was just in 10.
Okay. And the reason I skip forward this way is because we should all know Moses' story for the most part. Moses with the burning bush, and God said, I am who I am. Go free my people. So I had to do a little bit of diving. I don't think we should go into reading each one and everything that I saw, but his brother, cousin, they family.
Carry on, sir.
Yeah, he said at the burning bush, he said, I will send you somebody, Aaron, the qualifier, but they family. So where was I? Was talking about Moses in the burning bush. So we should all know that story beforehand, which is why I skipped to right here. And with the plagues, they have a study where they ate the amount of time that happened over all the plagues. We know it was 10 plagues. So they say it was about 40 to 50 days of plagues where, you know, they're off and on, things are happening. And so we get to the fulfillment of God's promise of them being free in chapter 12. So let's turn there really quickly. Is that right?
Oh, Jesus.
And Mama, read 31 to 37 for me, please. I heard your pages turning, so it just sounded like you was reading.
What chapter?
It is chapter 12, verses 31 to 37.
The Exodus. During the night, Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, Up, leave my people, as you have requested. Take your flocks and herds the people to hurry and leave the country. For otherwise, they said, we will all die.
Pause right there for me.
You ain't seen no pauses. So the people took their...
That's funny, ain't it? I just wanted to, just highlight some things. I just think it's funny that we get to a point now where the Egyptians are like, if you people don't leave us, we're going to die. And I'm going to give you everything that I have so that you do leave. Mm-hmm. God is powerful. Mm-hmm. Even though we may have to wait for some things to happen, when those things happen, they're going to be way bigger than we expect them to be. Mm-hmm. That's what I wanted to highlight. So you can continue.
So the people took their dough before the yeast was added and carried it on their shoulders in kneading troughs, wrapped in clothing. The Israelites did as Moses instructed and asked the Egyptians for articles of silver and gold and for clothing. The Lord had made the Egyptians favorable, disposed toward the people, and they gave them what they asked for, so they plundered the Egyptians. The Israelites journeyed from Ramesses to, I can't see, Sukkoth. There were about 600,000 men on foot, besides women and children.
Whew. How many stars is it?
What?
How many stars?
100,000.
How many?
Oh.
He said stars.
I'm glad you, because that's where I was going. Yeah, how many stars is it?
Indefinite, infinite.
It's a lot of them. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of them. We can say infinite because there ain't no way we're gonna be able to count them. But it seems like the Bible kind of has that issue when it comes to this group of people too, because it's 600,000 men,
right, plus
women and children. Mm-hmm. We couldn't count all of them. I give you the number for the men, but not the rest of them.
This look off topic, but I saw something earlier that was just like they saying like the sun is turning black and the moon is turning red now. And they said that it said that in the Bible that the moon was gonna turn red and the sun was gonna turn black. And I said, wait a minute. So I had to save the video so I could go back to read where they said it's at. I said, because where y'all see the sun turning black and the moon turning red, because I don't see it. Unless I'm tripping or I need a telescope, because then I might have to go get one.
There's one downstairs.
Funny thing is, it is in Revelation, but what's going on right now, I very highly doubt is what it says in Revelation, because I think those are events that everybody is going to be able to see. Mm-hmm. And the way it describes it, I don't think it's going to be a progressive situation where the sun slowly turns black and the moon slowly turns white. I think it's going to be like yeah. So like, but we gonna go over that though. We gonna get there one of these days. We haven't got to our end time studies yet, even though we are talking about time and how ironic. Mm-hmm. Where was we at? We just read them leaving, right?
Right. Yeah, I read to how many people it was. I read from 31 to 37.
So boom, they get out. But we didn't read it. It's a 2-part promise. He said he was going to get them out of slavery and lead them to the promised land. So we got another part to fulfill. How long do you think that's going to take? Now we got 40, 50 days already from the time that Moses told them, like, y'all going to get up out of here, to them actually getting up out of there. Which from that already, I should know, like, God got my back. So if I'm leaving this place, let's just make a guess. If I'm walking out of here, how long do you think it would take me to get to the promised land that God is leading me to? Especially with the fact that I got 600,000 men,
because I don't know where the
plus women and children.
I was about to say,
tell me, so I'm just walking. If he tell me,
if we like going based off our own foot, and how many?
Wait, pause real quick. Jackie Chan made it around the world in 40 days.
In what movie? Yeah, exactly, that movie.
Or was it 80 days?
80.
Okay. 80 days. So we can kind of assume.
No, because it was different back then. Remember, I told you're supposed to be working on the map.
What was you saying, Jasmine?
I said since they was on foot, it would depend on how many times they would have to take a rest or camp, so they could get rest, so they could continue on to their journey. Mm-hmm. So I would say around like 150 days.
150 days?
It all depends on how does length their legs.
150. Oh my God. You sound like Neil deGrasse Tyson. It all depends on the angle of how they toe hit the dirt when they picking their foot up, because it make you more tired with the kinetic energy.
For a taller person, it's one stride. And they can go so far. For a shorter person, they got 3 strides to catch up to that one stride of that taller person.
Let's also remember that they had foot messengers back then that would literally run miles from wherever war was happening back to the palace to give the king news.
Yeah.
So like,
and by then the enemy army done got a whole lot closer. But
yeah, I wasn't back then. Ain't no videos, so I couldn't say. But where was we at? We keep getting super sidetracked.
Because of your mama.
I asked how many days do y'all assume?
Right.
So
I said I don't think it should have took that long.
You already know how long it took, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not gonna ask you. So let's turn to Exodus chapter 24 really quickly. And this is gonna give us a little bit of perspective when it comes to timing in this situation. So, verse China, can you read verses 13 through 18 for me?
So Moses arose with his assistant Joshua, and Moses went up to the mountain, and he said to the elders, wait here for us until we come back to you. Indeed, Aaron and Hur are with you. If any man has difficulty, let him go to them. Then Moses went up to the mountain, and a cloud covered the mountain. Now the glory of the Lord rested on Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it for 6 days. And on the 7th day he called to Moses out of the midst of the cloud. The sight of the glory of the Lord was like a consuming fire on top of the mountain in the eyes of the children of Israel.
Oh, I'm sorry. Read the next one. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be 18.
Moses went to the midst of the cloud and went up to the mountain, and Moses was in the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, indirectly, we've been in situations like these, but a lot of the times when I read this story, I can't help but to get a little bit upset at the Israelites.
Yeah, because they disrespectful.
But let me ask you all this question. Just try to put yourself in their shoes. Now, you did just get free from Egypt. You did just see the Red Sea split. And you did just hear God speak from the top of this mountain. But the person that you asked to speak to God on your behalf just disappeared up this mountain and has been gone for 40 days and a week. What do you think? What do you do? Would you be patient enough to wait? I know we would want to be, but would you actually be patient enough to wait?
I don't know.
If I got a book,
you got a book?
You mean a tablet?
I was about to. That's why I stopped. It was like if I had a stone book, then I'd be able to read and keep my mind occupied for the time being.
Folks had enough entertainment. They had animals and all types of stuff.
Yeah, go run around with the sheep and stuff, you know?
Right. Play rocks.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Because, I mean...
Literally.
but being realistic, though. Being realistic. It's a lot of the times, we get impatient for the things that we pray for. Mm-hmm. And we know that there are changes in our life that we need to make to exhibit more of a Christ-like.
But we also know that when we are following with God, God is going to show up. Mm-hmm. So we have to be patient for that.
Most definitely that. I'm glad you said that.
I saw her bed shake. I wasn't getting up because I already knew she got excited. I don't have time for her.
No, my clothes almost fell off. But no, remember, well, I don't know which Bible study this was, and I was saying when we went to Kentucky for the opening of the anniversary of Fia's company.
That was fun.
Yes, and I told Charles that I said, just wait. It's greater things coming for you all. Now she has her own brick and mortar, her own restaurant and everything. I didn't tell you this the other day. She called to tell me somebody in Lexington, they do the best of. Like the best elementary school, best dance school, best just throughout, no matter what the category is. And it's very extensive. Somebody, she didn't do it, nominated Charles for best chef.
Wow.
And it was just that. And I was supposed to go, but by the time she told me the nominations closed at 8, she told me after 8:00. And she was like, I didn't do it. She was like, I called him and told him he was still asleep. She was like, he just didn't understand. I said, because I said, let him remain humble. I say, but if he wins this is going to show him how great he is. And what I told him still stands. And she was like, yeah, she was like, thank you. I said, you're welcome. It's nothing. I'm like, but he has a gift. And it is what it is. I'm like,
That's crazy. I'm really happy for bro though.
Yes.
Best chef in Kentucky. That's a big one.
Yes.
Best chef anywhere.
Right.
And
it's on that list is some top tier chefs. Just to be in that group alone,
sure.
And it's like I told her, just give them a minute.
Yeah, somebody even thought about nominating.
Yes, that wasn't family.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that speaks volumes.
For sure.
So yeah.
For sure. Big ups to my mans.
Yes.
So Moses is on this mountain for 40 days and a week. And the Israelites.
30 days. What you said, 40 days and a week?
Yeah, 40 days and a week. Because he went up with all of them and then just got covered up by the cloud for a week. And then it say that he got closer, I think, for 40 days and 40 nights. It's two separate. It mentions it in separate things. So I assume they separate. But I think that's a lot of time, though. Not saying that I'm gonna fall or lose faith. I'm just saying that's a lot of time. And it takes. Go ahead, say what you was about to say.
I think the problem is Aaron and her didn't have patience. Because it's like Moses told them, like, if any of y'all have a problem, you go to them.
Mm-hmm.
They were supposed to be the leaders.
Yeah,
they were supposed to make decisions, and they did wrong.
I agree with that too, for sure. If they would have just corrected them and told them to be patient, I think they probably would have bought some time, at least a little bit.
But it was just like, I was like, y'all won't listen.
Mm-hmm. But that's not even the reason.
I'm not sure the exact reason is.
Yeah, this is when God was writing the commandments, which is really interesting too. It said the floor of his kingdom is sapphire stone, and he was writing on the floor. And the tablets are written on both sides. So number 1 is number 6 written backwards. Number 2 is number 7 written backwards. It's really crazy. That's but that stuff you got to read. That's them peaks, get up in there and read.
I remember that.
Yeah, it's earlier about crying, and those are the type of things I be thinking about when I get to crying. Like the Lord is so detailed.
That it was written backwards
on. It says that God wrote it with his fingers on the sapphire stone that he was standing on, in like the next chapter or chapters, because I think this is talking about the setup of the tabernacle.
Yeah,
but he got a lot of instructions up there though. But it's in there. It's in there. So that's time. But we're not gonna read what the Israelites did while he was waiting up there. I'm gonna just tell y'all they melted all of the metal that they got from the Egyptians, and they made a golden calf and started worshiping that as the God that released them from Egypt, which is absolutely insane.
Where did they get that idea from?
Because y'all made it out of nowhere. They just decided to worship it. I'm confused.
They got the idea from Egypt.
Really?
From Egypt.
Supposed to be the lamb.
It was a calf. Actually. So then, but we still haven't gotten to the second part of the promise yet. They're supposed to get to a promised land. So they continue making their way to the promised land, and they finally get there in Joshua chapter 3. So we're going to turn there real quick. And you see, we skipping whole books, so
yeah,
it took them time to get there. And when I say time, I mean what Jasmine is about to read. Is Joshua chapter 5, I think. No, Joshua chapter 5, verse 6.
For the children of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness till all the people that were men of war, which came out of Egypt, were consumed, because they obeyed not the voice of the Lord, unto whom the Lord sware that he would not shew them the land, which the Lord sware unto their fathers, that he would give us a land that floweth with milk and honey.
So how long was they out there, Jazz?
40 years.
40 years. Them some strong toes. There's no settlement.
I need some shelter.
Tents.
And then they was walking, so they couldn't just
They have,
build.
you know, they have a whole festival of tents that's based on this situation.
All right, it's in there.
So
I was reading that a minute ago.
So village what? The tabernacle is a tent. You think you're gonna live in something nicer than what God live in?
Some grass and some mud clay.
All right.
Crazy. 40 years wandering in the wilderness. Now it's a lot that go on in that amount of time. Wars and disagreements civilly, and arguing with Moses and Aaron, even though they're supposed to be leaders. Building a tabernacle and the Ark of the Covenant.
I was gonna say all leaders have disagreements at some point.
Yeah, for sure. And so we actually see them cross into the promised land in Joshua chapter 3. So I'm going to read verse 15, probably today. We're going to see. It says, say again.
It's 5.
Chapter 3, verse 15.
Chapter 3.
Yes.
It says 17.
15. Starting at 15. And as those bearing the ark came to the Jordan, and the feet of the Kohanim bearing the ark dipped in the edge of the water. Now the Jordan overflows all its banks during all the time of harvest, that the waters which came down from upstream stood still and rose in a heap very far away at Adam, the city that is beside Sarathan. And the waters going down into the sea of the Arabah, the salt sea, were completely cut off, and the people passed over opposite Jericho. And the Kohanim bearing the ark of the covenant of Yahweh stood firm on dry ground in the midst of the Jordan. And all of Israel passed over on dry ground until all the nation had completely passed over the Jordan. Jordan. Jericho. That's funny. You can't be making fun of their names, mama. You gonna meet these people one day. What you gonna say to them? Your name funny. Nice to meet you, Jericho. You're silly. So
They don't say the same thing about us.
So another miracle, getting out of slavery and then coming into the promised land, the same one in different areas. We crossing over sea that should not be crossed over by foot. And so this was God's way of showing this new generation of people, I am here. I am God alone, and I will lead you. I will provide what you need. this is the land that I'm giving you. Because through them 40 years, the people that was there beforehand that seen God's miracles had to die because they couldn't believe for whatever reason it was. So now we gonna hit David, and these is just little side stories, and it's leading up to a end so that we can get some perspective on how we should live nowadays. So let's turn to 1 Samuel chapter 16.
1 Samuel chapter 16.
Do we know who David is?
1 Samuel chapter.
I got two different answers. That's funny.
I was like mom's husband, and she said that.
Yeah. Are you married to your daddy? Let me ask you that first before I say they two different. Okay, so those two different answers then. Because in the South they do that, and I don't know where you're from. So yeah, 1 Samuel chapter 16, 14, 16. No, David is not her daddy. No, David is not your husband. David is the second king in the Israelite reign. It sounded like you had something to say.
He was.
I didn't see.
He was tried
Quite
a bit.
Who tried him?
God tried him
Ooh.
quite a bit. Put this in the trigger.
I just woke up from a nap. So, Mama, I would like you to read verse 1 through 13 for me, please.
Tell it to me and I'll read recited. I'm not even in position yet.
Jazz, read 1 through 13, bro. I knew you wasn't there. Yeah, chapter 16, 1 through 13. You got this.
And the Lord said unto Solomon, am I saying that right? Samuel. You want me to say?
Do I keep this?
No, this was a gift to me. Do you want to use this now?
No.
Everything you use.
Because I don't just need that for a second. I need that for the time being. Okay. Keep it. I like it though. It's nice.
Sir, your thing.
I'm not even in position. Just figure it out.
Alright, is that better? And the Lord said unto Samuel, how long wilt thou mourn for Saul, seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Israel? Fill thine horn with oil and go. I will send thee to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provoked me a king among his sons. Provided me a king among his sons. And Samuel said, how can I go? If Saul hear it, he will kill me. And the Lord said, take an heifer.
You said it right. What your mama be calling your auntie?
With thee, and say, I am come to sacrifice to the Lord. And call Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will sow thee what thou shalt do, and thou shalt anoint unto him, unto me him whom I name unto thee. This is ridiculous.
Now pause right there. I'm gonna explain it for you just in case. Did you understand what you read? Just in case. So
a little bit, but not really. So yeah.
So Samuel is having a conversation with God, and God is telling Samuel that I am gonna remove Saul from the throne. So please stop mourning this man. Stop thinking about it. Stop worrying about it. Get up, clean yourself up, put some oil in your horn so that you can anoint the new king and get up out of here. That's what's going on. Yeah. So continue.
And Samuel did that which the Lord spake.
That was a great time to come back, wasn't it? And Samuel did it.
And came to Bethlehem, and the elders of the town trembled at his coming, and said, Comest thy peaceable?
Do you come in peace?
That's crazy. And he said, Peaceable, I am come to sacrifice unto the Lord. Sensitivity. SANCTIF.
Oh, sanctify.
Oh, sanctify. That's right. Sanctify yourselves, and come with me to the sacrifice. And he sanctified Jesse and his sons and called them to the sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to pass when they were come that he looked on Eliab and said, Surely the Lord's anointed, I just read it too, is before him. But the Lord said unto Samuel, Look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart.
Now pause right there. You understand what's going on? So just for understanding, for perspective. So Samuel get up and he go to Jesse's house under the guise of I'm just slaughtering to God. So he says, I'm gonna do this with you and your sons, Jesse. So Jesse like, cool. He go get his sons, majority of them. We're gonna see that later on though. And Samuel slaughters this animal, and he's looking at the oldest son, whose name is Eliab, and he's like, surely this is gonna be the king. This the oldest son, because tradition. Like my mama said, the oldest daughter usually get to get married first. The oldest son is usually who gets the inheritance or gets the promise or the.
We don't live back in that day because I had to slap you. You told me.
The look of positivity. So but God says no. Don't even worry about none of that. You looking at his age, you looking at his height, you looking at how he look. That's what countenance is. Countenance is the way your face looks. So you can have a happy countenance or a sad countenance. It's about the way your face looks. So the way his face looks, his outward appearance. And God is saying, like, I don't judge based on that. So don't look at that. I'm judging based on where the heart is. So continue. Verse 8.
Oh, verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
Then Jesse called Abinadab.
There you go.
And made him pass before Samuel and said, Neither hath the Lord chosen this. Then Jesse made Shema to pass by and said, Neither hath the Lord chosen this. Again, Jesse made 7 of his sons to pass before Samuel. And Samuel said unto Jesse, The Lord had not chosen these.
Jesus.
And Samuel said unto Jesse, Are here all thy children? And he said, There remaineth yet the youngest. And behold, he keepeth the sheep. And Samuel said unto Jesse, Send and fetch him, for we will not sit down till he come here.
Pause. Now, Samuel told him that he was there to eat, to sacrifice to eat with Jesse and his sons. Why did he leave one of them out? Why do you think?
Because I feel like Jesse either don't like his youngest son, or he might be jealous of his younger son because maybe he heard or something happened with the Lord and his youngest son was brought up, and Jesse probably was not like, nah, I don't like that. My eldest son probably get the position, not the youngest.
That's a really interesting perspective. What you think, Mama? I don't think it says either. We just, food for thought. Because it kind of goes back to the other story where people choosing firstborns and other people are choosing younger children. It kind of causes a rift in the family.
Yeah, showing favoritism.
Korean culture, I think all Asian culture, they still go based off of like the eldest son gets, like if they got a company or anything like that, the eldest son always gets passed down the company, the business, and all that, the name and everything.
The eldest is supposed to get double inheritance, and then all the rest of them get single, which is also kind of weird too for math purposes.
And I was gonna say, sometimes in the culture they be giving not the eldest daughter off to marry to make either better status for the family or to get more money for the family. Hate that.
Definitely.
That's funny because today at the place for me and Malia's appointment, it was time to renew the intake forms. You are still down there, Michael, as my emergency contact. Malia was like, why isn't your husband there? I said, because when I got this membership, I wasn't married. And Michael is the oldest, the adult that will have the authority if something happened to me to make those decisions at that time. And she was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I run that.
But not anymore because all y'all pretty much grown and I'm married.
I'm glad you married. I ain't got nothing to worry. I mean, now I'm married, so I still got that to work on.
Your son still can't handle me being on the phone with a male.
It's not about me handling it. It's about me not wanting to talk to him. That's what it's about.
He kept trying to say hi, and Michael was like, "No, you gotta go." Because I was in the basement at first, and he was like, "Yeah, no, I don't want to talk to you no more. Since you're talking to him,
read verse 12 and 13, please."
Where do you think he got that from?
Read verse 12 and 13, please.
And he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy and withal of a beautiful countenance and goodly to look to. And the Lord said, arise on it. On it. Anoint Jesus.
I couldn't figure out what you was trying to say.
You ain't even in your Bible. Be quiet.
I am in my Bible. It's in front of me.
For this is he. Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brethren, and the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from the day forward. So Samuel rose up and went to Ramah.
Now let me ask y'all a question real quick.
That's so crazy because that's one of the kids' names.
Ramah. Yeah, it'd be like that.
You probably got it.
Did the Bible call David sexy?
It said good looking.
They said good looking.
Now look, hold on. Let me read it from mine.
Easy on the eyes.
Verse 12. And he sent and brought him in. 16.
Oh.
This the one?
Where
was you at?
I wasn't in here. Remember, I had my Bible.
Okay. 16, verse 12. And he sent and brought him in, and he was tanned with bright eyes and good looking.
Oh, so David was ruddy.
I thought they meant his
Yeah, mine said so.
So David was a brother.
He said so. He sent for him and had him brought in. He was glowing with health and had a fine appearance and handsome features.
See, look, that's too many. You can't just say that they was like, oh, he was good looking because bright eyes, tan, and you saying that man sexy.
Exactly. He was a brother because you don't see no white people out here glowing. Like how they describe it.
They had tans back
That's
then.
a toughie. You
They
too.
was caramelized.
You too.
They spent a lot of time in the sun.
No, that white people was trying to get melanin on them.
But they was caramelized.
No.
Why? Witchcraft right here. What are they talking about?
Like I said, David was a brother.
What did she said? David was a brother. Power to the people. I can't, man. You're hilarious.
They said tan with light eyes. Now, if I'm being honest, if we talking about light eyes, I'm thinking maybe a little hazel eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, chestnut a little bit.
You say bright.
So
I mean,
was a brother.
But hold on though, because he is in the Middle East, so them boys could be green. You don't know.
And he's also young.
You don't know.
But at the same time,
his skin could have been olive. That's still tan.
I'm not talking to you.
Is that not a brother?
But I was gonna say, but at the same time, everybody says
Yemen
that green it represents black people sometimes. So it's just like it could. If he was green, he's still a brother at the end of the day. He still have color to him.
David, you a brother. I can't wait to see you and ask.
I can't wait because if he is, I'm gonna
like, Mike, yo, this is David. Oh, I thought you was gonna look like this.
No, because if he looked like how I think he looked, I'm gonna get happy. But if we get up there and I'm wrong, I'm gonna be like, dang.
I thought it was gonna look totally different. Oh,
you know, yo, look. Gonna break out one of them.
This is crazy.
I'm like, that's so crazy.
This is crazy. I don't think we got his age in here, but bro was young. He was outside tending sheep, man. He's the youngest of 8, because it says 7 sons passed by Samuel, and then they brought David in. So David was young. I didn't get the age in there. Maybe somebody in the next Bible study I'll figure that out. But so we see that David is anointed to be king at this point in time. Brought in from the house, from shepherding sheep, skipped over the top 7 just to anoint him. So
I was gonna say, but then it also makes you take more, because then if Jesse is walking with the Lord and may have prayed about something about his eldest son, the Lord could have gave him a message like, yeah, nah, your oldest son not about to get a position. Your youngest is though, but your oldest, nah.
And you think he was just trying to circumvent that?
I think he was trying to hide his youngest
I know
son.
what the Lord said, but get out there, Eliab for the win.
Samuel was like, no. Jesse like, okay, next eldest, let's go.
That's funny. I really don't think this is bad though. I think this is great conversation, and I feel like this is a part of what The Chosen does. I really wish that they were really outright with their views and the way they look at the Bible and Christianity and church history in general. But having conversations like these, where like we kind of try to put ourselves in their shoes, maybe fill in some gaps, just to have fun with the text. Like, not saying the text not fun already, because this is already drama filled, but it's
learning,
fun, to think about things like that.
Everybody they don't perceive or take or comprehend the knowledge the same way. So it's good to hear the points of view and the perspectives of it,
And comedy lasts too. So
was
you
Yeah,
get a good joke.
you
You
know,
be thinking about that. For
Right,
a while.
exactly. If you don't remember the verse or exactly what was said, you be like, "Oh, this joke," and everything else gonna come back to you. But as a family, we joke with
Anyway,
everything. So
I was gonna say because it's like what was I about to say? Mama made me lose my
I'm
train of
sorry,
thought.
because I read that going into the 14th one, and I said, "Ooh." So then I had to read my subtext to see
Because
what
I
they
was
were
gonna
talking
say
about.
because it's like it's some people that don't want to make conversations like this or make like little jokes about it because they think, oh, if I say like this or joke like this, then I'm going to go down to hell.
God gonna be mad at me.
Blasphemous.
If I'm like reading the Bible. If you read the Bible, you can see yourself. God Himself got jokes.
Big time.
Every day.
It's like
Every
He be
day.
coming for people in here. So it's like if you read it and really like get into it, then you would know. It's okay to have conversations like this. It's okay to joke. Because most likely, he up there laughing at what we saying as well. Because he like, dang, y'all might not be too far off right now.
Exactly. Exactly.
I wonder if he ever sit back
So,
and be like,
so don't be so sensitive. Don't be so sensitive. These my kids.
Look, they told me no free will.
or do the Dreezy. Have kids, they say, and it'll be fun. They say.
I'll look at that.
She gonna feel away because she ain't here now. But what I did find, was somebody had a little bit to say about his age. So this is a little bit after the point where he was anointed. This is chapter 17, verse 32 to 33. And I'm going to read that real quick. It says, and David said to Saul is the king right now, let no man's heart fail because of him. Him is Goliath. Goliath is making some crazy claims right now, and everybody's scared to fight him.
I was going to say, I saw that name somewhere.
Your servant is going and shall fight this Pelishite. And Saul said to David, you are not able to go against this Pelishite to fight with him, for you are but a youth, and he a man of battle from his youth. So Goliath grown because he's been a man of battle from his youth. And David is still a youth, which means he was at most 16, 17 years old. Because Goliath said that too, for sure. But this is Saul speaking to him, though, the king of Israel at the time. But this is a testament to David's heart posture and his mindset. Even though he's a youth, whatever that means in that time, he's still more willing to go up against a giant than everybody else that's already in the army, including, I think it's 3 or 4 of his older brothers. Some of them was in the army and some of them weren't. So, and it has nothing to do with his anointing, because if you go beforehand, or no, continue reading down this, David talks about while he's shepherding sheep that he's been attacked by a lion and a bear, and he killed both of them. So that's just who David is. David already brave. David already know God gonna protect him and lead him through. So he's just feeding into that ferocity. Yeah. Said he grabbed the lion by his beard. So David tough.
So David was just like, yeah.
It's this animated movie that I'm so excited for to come out. It's called David, and I need to check and see if it came out yet. But they showed in the trailer him fighting the lion, and he was like up on the rock, and the lion like jumped up to try to get him, and he slid down and grabbed the beard like that while the lion was jumping up in the air.
It's a Matrix type of movie. That's crazy.
Hey, David, you got to say the sheep. You got to do what you got to do.
I'll take the red pill. Give me that
I'm so done.
You gotta do what you gotta do, bro. We killing them all. So we finally see David crowned king in the next book, 2 Samuel, chapter 5. Mama, can you read that for me? We're just gonna read verse 4. 2 Samuel, chapter 5, verse 4. Now we all the way in the next book. It's not a lot of time that has passed by.
David was 30 years old when he became king, and he reigned 40 years in Hebron. He reigned over Judah 7 years and 6 months, and in Jerusalem he reigned over all Israel and Judah 33 years.
That's longer than 40 years.
But that was 4 and 5.
Yes. I know.
It got good.
So from David being a youth up until he was 30 is the lapse of time from when he was anointed up until he actually was crowned king. But all in that time, David beat Goliath, fought some other giants, was in some wars.
Stop.
Because I was thinking about the verse earlier when we was talking about David, but I was like, bro, I can't bring that up because it really don't have nothing to do with the topic, but I really like the verse.
But also it's the things like the trials and tribulations that he went through.
Yeah.
When I said he had suffering, and that goes into the fruits of the spirit. You got long suffering, and it's being steadfast in your faith and holding on to God's promise. His time is not our time. I know he said he can't lie. So he said he has this for me. He has this for me. I just don't know when it's coming. But I'm going to continuously follow in his path and trust that I'm going to prevail regardless.
Got to.
I was going to say, I thought something else. For some reason, was David not living in the same house as them? Because
the same house as
go and fetch them.
Oh, no, he was just outside. He was outside tending to the sheep.
Oh, because I was going to say, if you living in the same house, then Jesse, he was really jealous for no reason.
Because like Saul turned his back on it, and he had some issues.
Yes, he did. we gonna get into individual people because I think that's gonna be fun too. So let me say at least it was 10 years between the time bro was anointed and the time that he became king. And in his story, you got Saul persecuting him because Saul already know he gonna become king. You got him fighting with other tribes and nations. You got him, his wife not liking him. I'm gonna say it like that because she see that he's catching favor from other women. I can't bring the verse up. So the way bro's dancing, like the type of attire that they wore, I'm not gonna say that he was out. You feel me? It was swinging, but the type of stuff that they had on. Yeah, he said he was dancing for the Lord with all his might. So it's like
it was swinging around just out there.
And it say the women was watching, and his wife was like, I hate him for this. Like they all watching this happen. So it's. I can't say that that's what the deal was, but when I came across the verse, I was like, bro, I love this. And you gonna hate me for dancing?
Because if I was David, I would have looked at her and I would have been like, so I don't know why you mad that they looking at me. You act like I told them to
But if your booty out though, would you?
Hey, this is what we wear. What do you want from me? If you bent over, your whole butt cheeks will be out, girl. Please leave me alone.
Put your clothes on. Put your clothes on.
And it was also
you might have a whole boob pop out if you down the wrong way. Like
we're not reliving that Super Bowl.
And it was also when they had brought the Ark of the Covenant into the city, they was bringing it into David's house. So it was a really, celebratory time for him. Yeah, I had to get that together. Celebration time was what I was about to say.
If it was getting on her nerves so bad, you should have went for a long walk and cleared your head.
I agree. And that was his first wife too. And he fought for her. Like, it was crazy.
Oh, that too? I fought for you and you over here.
Fought for her.
Go
like crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
That's what I'm saying.
So now we are going to jump into another story, second to last, of confidence in God being able to provide, but knowing that it takes time. So we're going to jump to the book of Esther, chapter 4. Esther chapter 4. Jazz, I want you to read verses 15 and 16 for me.
Oh, you said Esther. I stopped at Ezra.
You said 15 and 16?
Yes.
Then Esther bade them return Mordecai. Wait.
Yeah, that got choppy. You might want to start that over. Chapter 4. Verses 14 and 15. Oh, my bad. 15 and 16. I'm sorry.
Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer. Go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens, maidens will fast likewise, and so will I. Go in unto the king, which is not occurring to the law. And if I perish, I perish.
Mordecai.
What would you do?
Y'all know the movie, yeah? Okay, so we're not gonna get into it. So Mordecai is her uncle, I believe.
If I see somebody named Rigby, we gonna have a problem.
Name what?
Rigby, we gonna have a problem.
It might be. That's crazy because I was watching regular show last night. But back to this. So Esther is telling Mordecai, like, go out and find all the Jews that you can and tell them to fast for 3 days and 3 nights. And I'm going to do the same thing in all my handmaidens. Esther is a queen, by the way, because we don't have any backstory. Esther is in the palace. She's a queen. She's saying that all the women servants that she has, she's going to tell them to fast too. And after those 3 days, she going to go to the king, which is against the law, to go and ask him for something. And at the end, she say, if I die, then I die. But if not, he going to hear, whatever we have to ask him.
What is she at?
Well, it's really interesting. She actually only asked him to attend a feast. She asked for him and I think the second in command. I don't really remember his title, but I think his name is Haran or Haram. But asked both of them to attend a feast that she was holding.
Yeah, because I think that's the next chapter.
There you go.
And Haman, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, she knows that God's timing is not our timing. She does quantify it. She puts 3 days on it, but it's only quantified because they are facing some imminent danger. The Jews are supposed to be killed on a specific day. So she only has so much time before she can go and make this happen. But even so, she still pushes it off and says, we're going to please God for these days, or try to please God, inquire God for these days, and then I'm gonna go and meet with the king. And in her favor, it worked out. Obviously, she was able to invite the king and his second in command to the feast, and eventually get the second in command killed. Drama. So, man. So if you haven't already, you should look up Gen Z Bible stories on TikTok. Hilarious. So there's a really interesting story that Daniel has. Let's go to Daniel chapter 10 real quick. He's in a predicament that he knows he can only understand if God gives him the perspective.
You said what chapter?
Chapter 10. This is kind of long, so I'm gonna read it. The important part is at the bottom, though. The up top just puts you like where he is. Chapter 10. In the 3rd year of Koresh, sovereign of Paras, a word was revealed to Daniel, whose name was called Belteshazzar. And the word was true.
Is it Belteshazzar?
That's what I was about to say.
Mine is Belteshazzar.
I mean, that's what mine is too. It's Shazzar then.
Nah, mine is like, it's different.
I mean, what verse? 10? What?
10 verse 1. Belteshazzar. Yeah, TS and TS is really hard to pronounce together. That's why it took me a minute.
Belteshazzar.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's probably gonna be all one sound. It's just when it first hits my mind, I have to separate.
Mm-hmm.
But right after that, and the word was true, and the conflict great, and he understood the word and had understanding of the vision. In those days, I, Daniel, was mourning 3 weeks of days. I did not eat desirable food, and meat and wine did not come into my mouth. And I did not anoint myself at all to the completion of 3 weeks of days. And on the 24th day of the 1st month, while I was by the side of the great river, then I lifted my eyes and looked and saw a certain man dressed in linen, whose loins were girded with gold of Uphaz. And his body was like beryl, and his face like the appearance of lightning, and his eyes like torches of fire, and his arms and feet like polished bronze in appearance, and the sound of his words like the sound of a crowd. Another brother? The sound of his words like the sound of a crowd. Who? What brother? You know that speak like?
Because
his feet is
and
bronze.
his feet like the color polished.
You're hilarious. So this is what's going on. So Daniel has this vision that he sees and he understands, and it troubles him to his core. So much so that he doesn't eat or drink for 3 weeks. And he's constantly praying during these 3 weeks that he's not eating or drinking because he's troubled. And I don't want to say that he's praying for it not to come, but he's praying for understanding on why it has to come. And so it says after these 3 weeks, he cleans himself, he anoints himself, and he puts his clothes on. And then he sees this man. This man is not a regular man, very obviously, because he's illuminating. So we'll continue. Verse 7. And I, Daniel, alone saw the vision. For the men who were with me did not see the vision, but a great trembling fell upon them, and they ran to hide themselves. So this happens in pure daylight, but he's the only person that can see it. All right, keep that in mind. So I was left alone when I saw this great vision, and no strength remained in me, for my comeliness was destroyed in me, and I retained no strength. But I heard the sound of his words, and while I heard the sound of his words, I was stunned, lying on my face to the ground. So when this man opened his mouth, Daniel was put on the ground.
Huh.
Right? And see, a hand touched me and placed me trembling on my knees and on the palms of my hands. And then he got lifted up. And he said to me, "Oh, Daniel, man greatly appreciated. Understand the words that I speak to you and stand upright, for I have now been sent to you." And while he was speaking this word to me, I stood trembling. Now, here's the important part right here. I want y'all to listen very carefully. And he said to me, "Do not fear, Daniel, for from the first day that you lay your heart to understand and to humble yourself before Elohim, your words were heard, and I have come because of your words." Now he says on the first day when Daniel spoke, his words were heard and he was on his way. But how long was Daniel fasting for?
21 days.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
So let's see what happened. Verse 13 says, "But the head of the rule of Paras withstood me 21 days. And see, Michael, one of the chief heads, came to help me, for I had been left alone there with the sovereigns of Paras." Do we understand what's going on here?
They was fighting.
Who is they?
Angels.
Yes, ma'am. Angels were fighting. Sometimes demonic energies are referred to as rulers of a certain area. Paras says Persia in your book, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Prince of Persia, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Kings of Persia. So
Mhm.
that is a demonic entity that influences the kings, the rulers, the people in the area of Persia. And so Daniel prays, this angel, or God hears, and he sends the angel to tend to Daniel. And this entity, demonic entity, which is the king of Persia, comes and intervenes and is fighting with this angel that's supposed to be sent to Daniel. And he's fighting with this angel for 21 days until the angel Michael, we all know who Michael is, right? We've heard of Michael then. Until the angel Michael, who is the chief of the army of angels, has to come down and defeat the king of Persia himself so that the angel can make it to Daniel. Now think about that. First off, God loves us so much that when we ask him for something, he immediately releases our blessing. But the devil and these demonic forces are so against us that they stop our blessings mid-transmit to where we feel like they're not going to come. But through Daniel's understanding and persistence, his fasting and his prayer, the angel eventually got to him and was able to get him to understand, like, hey, I was fighting this. I'm here now, but I was supposed to be here when you prayed immediately. So we have to understand that as well. When we pray immediately, God hears us and he sends our blessings out. But for one reason or another, it's being blocked by something. And like Jesus said, the best way to break a stronghold is through fasting and prayer. The most effective way to break a stronghold is through fasting and prayer. So we gonna end it on Proverbs, the book of wisdom. Let's go to chapter 20. And Mama, I want you to read verse 21 for me.
Okay.
It's in the middle. Do y'all know what the middle of the Bible is?
Yeah, page. I looked it up years ago.
Psalm 118.
It all depends on.
You said Psalm 118.
Yeah, that's the middle.
I don't know.
Oh, we're going to Proverbs 20. Verse 21. Yeah. Proverbs chapter 20, verse 21.
Wine is a mockery, strong drink is raging. I was like, oh.
An inheritance claimed too soon will not be blessed at the end. Let me read that again. An inheritance claimed too soon will not be blessed at the end.
Yes, ma'am. Now, what does that mean to you, Mama? In general and in the context of the conversation.
Okay, say that my promise or my blessing, I don't have the patience to just wait for it because, like, once again, our timing isn't God's timing, and I rush to go get it. Okay, you might have it, but that wasn't the blessing. So it's not gonna be fruitful. It's not gonna be abundant. It's not gonna be blessed because, for lack of a better term, it was gained ill-gottenly versus waiting for that time.
I think what I'm hearing from you is shortcuts are temporary, but blessings are forever.
Something like that.
What does that mean to you, Jasmine?
That's a good summation. Let me say that.
So
Proverbs 20, verse 21.
An inheritance may be gotten hastily at the beginning, but the end thereof shall not be blessed. So, for me, how I read it, it sounds like if you try to go find it yourself instead of just letting God work and let it come to you, then it's not the blessing that you asked for. It's something that you went to go get. The blessing that you asked for, you gotta be patient and watch how God works. Because at the end of the day, your blessing is gonna come if you be patient. Don't just rush into it trying to look for it or trying to get it as quickly as possible, because then it's not gonna work out the way that you want it to.
I think what I'm hearing from you is there's no more important work than God's work. Because inheritance, I mean, you don't necessarily have to work to get inheritance, but it says hastily. So for you to get it, either something happened really early or you did something to make your inheritance happen really early. So
that's what I said. You can't go out trying to go get it and look for it. You gotta be patient.
Your work is futile, and whatever the Lord gives you is what's really going to stand. Heard. I'm here for it. What does that mean to you, China? Proverbs 20, verse 21.
Verse 20 and 21?
No, chapter 20, verse 21.
An inheritance gained hastily in the beginning will not be blessed at the end. Yeah, you can't rush stuff. You can't rush stuff because if you rush it, it's not going to be what you wanted. Anyway.
I think a perfect example of this verse is literally the first person that we went over today. Do y'all remember who that person is? Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
So Abraham back then, he has Isaac and Ishmael, right?
Mm-hmm.
We see the Ishmaelites came out of that, and the Ishmaelites developed into the Arabs, Muslim countries, right? Ishmaelites, I mean the Hebrews, yeah, Israelites. I'm tripping. End up becoming what we call nowadays the Jewish state. And what do we know about that region over there, the Middle East right now? Violence. They're literally constantly at war. So God told him from jump, I'm gonna bless you. And he went and tried to get it early himself and end up creating a whole, belief system of people, half of the world, that are fighting with the actual promise that he lived out, further on down the line. That's crazy to think about, isn't it?
You rush to do something and then you create a whole bunch of mess.
A whole bunch of mess.
I think about it, what if Abraham actually listened to God? I feel like later down the line, someone would not have listened. That there could have been, people who.
I think about that with Adam and Eve too. Like, what if Adam would have just listened, but then somebody else would have sinned, and then blah blah blah.
It's because Abraham, he is the top. He's over the top three religions.
Ridiculous. Somebody talking about what if Adam lied and he actually ate the apple? That's why we got an Adam's apple in our throat.
Well, what it really is see, I wish that people would understand that in that time, people did not speak promptly like we do. Like he had sex with that man. That's why it was crazy. He ate up the fruit.
So I'd like to leave everybody with a little bit more of encouragement if this didn't encourage you enough. So Jeremiah chapter 29 verse 11 says, "What? For I know the plans I am planning for you, declares Yahweh, plans of peace and not evil, to give you an expectancy and a latter end." God knows what you want. God knows what you need. And he's very willing to give that to you.
As long as you're patient for it.
Patient. You got to ask. Closed mouths don't get fed. She said we're going to end on a word of prayer this time. So we're going to pray. Bow your heads, close your eyes, open your mouths.
Bow your eyes, close your head.
Are you waiting on me?
Yes.
Oh. Heavenly Father, we come to you with bowed heads and humble hearts. First of all, giving you thanks for your many blessings that you have bestowed upon us, those seen and unseen, those that have come to pass and those yet to come, oh Heavenly Father. I ask you to continually wrap your arms of protection and grace around my life and the life of my loved ones and everyone listening to this live stream of Family Bible Study. Lord, I ask a specific prayer for R.V. Graham and her friend Deborah. Give them what they need. Only you know what they need at this time, oh Heavenly Father. And I ask that you continue to gird my tongue so that people see you through all that I say and do. And I will continue to give you all the glory, the honor, and the praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. In Jesus' name. All right, we'll see y'all next week.
Because I was about to say, I pull up real quick.